Thank you, Brookings, Oregon, KCIW listeners. We are here on the Quality Living with Peaceful Support show. I'm Amanda Whittemore, and we are in Brookings, Oregon. And Quality Living with Peaceful Support is a moment to really learn about exactly that. What is quality? What is living? How do we do it? What does it mean when it's time to go? Like death. That's going to be mostly our topic today is end of life. And normally I go more into about me and the show. However, I'm just feeling called to just introduce all the listeners here in the Curry County. And on our podcast, we have a global audience. Thailand, Colombia, we love you. Costa Rica, love you. And call us at any time, 541-661, just like that, 4098. Okay, thank you, callers. And you can also email contact@kciw.org. Today, as I mentioned on the Quality Living with Peaceful Support, we have a super special guest in the audience, in the studio, and we have an audience today, so maybe that's what brought that to attention. So yes, Coreen is here with us, and we're so thankful for the work that you do and you just being in the community.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Amanda.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be here and really appreciate the opportunity to get to share what not only I do, but you do as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yeah. So, let's tell the Brookings, how did you get to Oregon?
Actually, my grandparents retired here, and then my parents were living in Hawaii, and they came to visit and fell in love with the area and the community.
Oh, man.
So they transitioned from Hawaii to Brookings, Oregon.
Wow. That's unique and very special. And then
we actually sailed over from Hawaii on a 72-foot sailboat.
Oh, that is so glorious. And were you born here then?
No, I was 3.
Okay.
But I grew up kindergarten through high school.
Oh, yeah.
All through here. So I'm an original native.
Yes,
OG.
Yeah, totally local. Sweet. Well, the Brookings listeners sometimes like to know, what are things that really interest you, or what are you really into in this area that maybe others forgot about? It would be an attraction to them.
One of my favorite things is not only mushroom hunting, but to do the amazing local hikes that we have.
Totally.
And we have the northernmost community of redwoods here. Mm-hmm. And it's 8 miles up the river.
Ooh.
On the north bank. And it's a short loop.
Okay.
And I absolutely love that hike.
Is that near Mount Emily?
I'm not sure.
North Bank. I think that's South Bank I'm thinking.
Oh, I think you are thinking
okay.
South Bank.
Okay,
yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
North Bank.
All right. No, yeah.
Yes.
Now I'm ready.
Right past Loeb Park on the left.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you get to climb through the redwoods and go over bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And it's absolutely glorious. You really get to see the majesty that we get to live in here. Totally. On the southern Oregon coast.
Yeah. And it's the best part, if I can remember, any time of year, even if it's raining, it's super cool to tromp around up there.
It's even better when it's raining.
Right? Exactly. I love that. Beautiful. And so how do you support yourself? Not really to get too personal, but what's your course of work?
So I have a couple things that I do. Mm-hmm. I am a baker.
Ooh.
I used to own the First Rise Baking Company here in Brookings. That was a 8-year-long adventure that I loved every second of it. And I really appreciate the community support that I got. And I have been transitioning and trying to find what to do with my life. And I stumbled across a program and in Bend, and it was the Peaceful Presence Project. And they offered end-of-life doula certifications. And it really just called to me on a spiritual level. And I took the course. And so now I am transitioning into that phase of my life where I'm practicing that.
Oh my, that is right up my calling. End of life training, and to go through the whole process. I don't know about for you, but to go through that whole training is so intense.
It is. It was very intense. It was very eye-opening. I was very proud to live in Oregon because we offered so many end-of-life options. And I love that. And I was glad to know that. Pass that information on to my parents who are approaching,
Right.
you know, a little bit. They're up there. They're getting up there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've learned that any age, all ages, like from losing my 2.5-year young nephew to a drowning, to any age, to there's 11-year-old in the East Coast right now who doesn't have end-of-life choices. There's end of life is like it's to have a way to alleviate their pain and suffering and to let them go peacefully with dignity, however that may be. Like, again, yeah, I second that, and I completely thank Oregonians and everything we have here for that option, and to educate and bring awareness to all ages. Just because we talk about death or because we sign up for an end-of-life option doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And maybe not even in this lifetime. Some people who sign up for that option, they die from something else before they even get to that option. Or some of them live past it and they just die in their sleep and they never wake up, and we never know.
Yes, exactly. We never know when our time's coming. But the best way is, you know, in my opinion, being there peacefully, ending it, surrounded by family, friends, after a long adventure in life, to have that adventure in death.
Exactly. Yeah. How did they, so with Peaceful
Presence
Project, how did they introduce end-of-life? Is it end-of-life choices? Is it planned death?
We discussed all options.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we talked about planned death. We talked about end-of-life choices. We went all the way to talking about the options of burials and Oregon offering, you know, home plots, that kind of thing, and different styles of cremations. And I think it was an 8-week course, and they just really tried to cover almost everything possible.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So good.
Yes.
How does the word, because we're in the Quality Living with Peaceful Support, talking with Coreen about end-of-life choices, being end-of-life doulas, the both of us, if anybody out there listening, I would like to hear your version, before we get to the other question I was strumming up for, your version of the purpose or the presence of an end-of-life doula, because a lot of people still, they think of a birth doula. And when I try to say to them, it's the same thing, our listeners would love to hear more from you.
Yes. I think the end-of-life doula is, it's having someone there to guide you through the process, allowing loved ones, family, and friends a chance to enjoy their remaining moments together. It's providing a non-medical, holistic support, empowerment, emotional, social, spiritual, practical support. You know, you show up and you may need some dishes done. we can do that. You need somebody holding vigil. We're there for you in a completely third-party, non-judgmental way.
Exactly. It's so beautiful.
Yes, it's an amazing, absolutely amazing thing to be involved in.
And for us, I know that the requirements were that we've had to been through quite a few deaths and been there for the process to receive these experiences to be able to even get the certification. And so a lot of people, I think, really, this is for all the listeners who are questioning that, like, did they just sign up? They're just interested in death? No, not at all. Like we are now because we're educated. However, we got to experience it because those souls and those spirits asked us to be present when they were passing. And to me, that's the highest trust and the highest amount of honor.
Definitely. It started with me with my grandfather when I was 8. And I went into, he was there with hospice. Cancer took him, and I went very fast. And I went into the room and I got to hold his hand, just me alone during the last few moments.
Oh.
And I wasn't scared. He wasn't scared. And it was an absolutely empowering experience for me.
That is so beautiful. And so then that brings me to our other part of this program is, can you tell us about quality? What is that to you?
Quality, that's a hard question, Amanda, because there's so many ways you can describe quality. I really think I describe it as in a philosophical perspective.
Ooh, yeah.
And it's my perspective, and we all have our perspective of what quality is. And I think loving ourselves, our others, without judgment, and appreciating the bad times as much as the good times.
Yes.
Definitely. And improving ourselves to help achieve our personal success. Because we also each have our definition of success.
Correct. Delicious. That tickles the brain a bit. And again, listeners, we're talking with Coreen, and you can call any questions at all because death is a very, very broad spectrum. I mean, it covers everything, really. There's so many questions. There's so many answers that it was very philosophical and that we may not ever see the answer.
Exactly.
And that can totally be okay. And to just accept that, is sometimes part of the process.
Acceptance is a big part of the process.
Yes. So good. And how about peaceful support? Where do you see that and why is it important?
I think for me, peaceful support a lot of time just is being there. Helping fill the space and providing just love through. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be cleaning. You don't have to fidget. You just being there.
Holding space.
Holding space. Exactly. That really describes it to me.
Yeah. That's a huge part of it, that so many different emotions arise through the process that we cannot, that's impossible to plan for, even as experienced as doulas are. As many people, I'd like to go back and forth between birth and death, or even a divorce, or getting married, or having, adopting a child, like all these transitions from one state to another state is really you have your best friend that you call, or you have, your counselor or your lawyer. And with death, you have a doula, just the same as birth. And we have this channel that has been gifted to us it's almost as if we turn off the thinking. And for me, there's no thought process. It's completely listening to the soul's purpose and their request.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We're here for them and for their family.
Yeah. In their journey. And so many family members or doctors or hospice, whoever is tending to the one dying, for whatever reason, it is so simple to think that all these things need to happen, or we want all these things to happen and then it gets us really far from the person at the center who's dying. And that's the other major importance of the doula, is to hold that space for that person dying, so that everyone else's ideas of what should or should not be happening they're acknowledged, they're treated with respect, but that's not their turn.
Yes, exactly. We want to be respectful of the person who is going through the process and starting that next journey, and providing the opportunity to let them tell us what they want, and to listen to that.
Mm-hmm. And see it through.
And see it through is a big thing.
Yes. Reinforcements. Here come the doulas. For sure. And do you find in your work that any issues with oxygen treatment, or with like DNRs, do not resuscitate? If they do or do not have one, do you have any issues with oxygen?
I haven't. Mm-hmm. But I am very new to this line of passionate work, so
okay,
you might have a better answer to that question.
Yeah,
since you've been doing it for quite a bit longer.
Yeah, oxygen. So if a human, it's hard to relate to animals with this one because they cannot verbally tell us if they do or do not want to be released. Or put out of their misery, or what's the other word? Put down. I say lifted up, but like...
I like that one.
Yeah, they want to be lifted out of here. Mm-hmm. Animals are a little bit different. They physically show us.
Yes, a lot of times you can see it in their eyes.
Yeah. Euthanize, that's what they call it, right?
Euthanize.
That's the word. So we can do that here in Oregon to everything and anything. And a lot of people think, where am I going with this? Let me stay on track first. Oxygen. We're talking about the oxygen. So animals I recommend, if your animal, if you think it's dying, like call a doula. Because we may or may not know that that animal is actually dying or not. We could just think it is. We bring it to the vet. They are on a very strict state medical, what's the word?
Regulations.
Right, they're regulated. An end-of-life doula is not.
We have much more opportunity to follow the respect and wishes of whoever.
Yeah, whom is passing. And so I've had people call me and they're like, we need you to perform, let them go, get them out of their body. And I show up and that little thing, it might be like limp in my hands, but after a moment with it and listening to its soul, finding that vitality and just doing a couple things that, giving it water, literally injecting water into the mouth. Just like a human, you may just physically inject water in the mouth. The doctors are hopefully we can stay on air. The doctors are probably going to tell you not to inject water or give them oxygen. I've done that and they lived. And so
amazing.
Yeah, it's like everyone's made peace. They're ready to bring it into the vet and euthanize it. And they call me to make sure that's what it wants. And I'm like, oh, it's not me making the decision. It's speaking through me as a channel. And so I say, you know what? Let's just, well, the doctor says don't give it any water. And I'm like, that's okay. That's their choice. This being has a different choice, and it wants me to inject water into its mouth. And it just, after that moment, just starts licking and drinking on its own.
Yes.
And it's like, woo! And it's still alive. That being is like running around as good as new. And they were ready to send him off, you know? And that could happen with our elders, with our youth. You know, one family member is saying they want to let the person go. But have they asked that person?
So many people out there are fighters.
Big time. And they want the oxygen. And even if it says do not resuscitate, they may or may not know. So I always ask them, even if they have a DNR, do you want this oxygen on your face? Do you want to breathe?
Yes. And informing them is so important, and it's an important part of our job as well.
Exactly, because if they don't have all the information, they can't make a conscious decision.
Correct.
So I've given, they did not, they said DNR, they said we do not want oxygen on our mouths. And I said, I will promise you, someone in this house, if you pass out and have a situation and there's oxygen next to you, and it's okay. Like, it's a natural human response to want to immediately put the oxygen on them, regardless of what the DNR says on the refrigerator. Yes,
exactly.
It's human nature. It's our response. So if they truly, honestly do not want oxygen, and they've told you and you try to give it to them and they don't want it, and if you accidentally save their life when they want to die, that's not fair. So take the oxygen out of the house if they honestly don't want it. If they have a DNR and they say they do want oxygen, order it. Like, so what?
Yes.
Who cares what the DNR says? Order the oxygen. Let them have it.
That's a very helpful point.
Yeah. It's just part of what we do, you know?
Yes. And a lot of people overlook a lot of those little things towards the end.
Mm-hmm. And breath is like number one. You know, oxygen is number one. I always start there. If they tell me 100% they don't want oxygen, and I tell them it'll get you out of pain, it'll make you feel better, you're going to love it, you're going to be able to breathe, because they tell me it hurts to breathe and they just want to die. And I tell them, well, that's okay. That's okay. If you really want to die, we'll take the oxygen out of the house. And they say, take it out of the house. It's so, I mean, I can't argue with that.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yes, it's...
And it's not our job to argue with that.
Ever. Yeah. Especially at those crucial moments. And to enjoy the time, you know? Like, and that's kind of the beauty I found, too, about being the doula. We're kind of like the buffer.
Exactly.
Between, and it helps the family, like, not to see more than, like, your emotions get the best of you and you want to scream and cry and argue, which is fine. But do you really want that to be their last audio? Mm-hmm. Some do, some don't. I don't know. It's not for me to say. I don't know. We're just there to hold space for whatever the family needs to process.
Yes, exactly. Holding space is so important. Mm-hmm. I'm almost about to cry just thinking about it. What a beautiful moment it is in that time when you have the family there and everybody's on the same page and you just feel the room fill with love.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's usually when they go.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, because they've been ready. They've just been waiting for the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And when they find it, then they realize, okay, I'm out. I'm on to the next adventure. Mm-hmm. Whatever that is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Do you have plans of, do you have a center that you work with? Do you have plans of, like, creating your own, like, this is a new adventure to you and you're experienced and you're ready to get out there in action? Can people call you right now?
People can call me. This is a new adventure that I'm just embarking on, so I'm ready. Yeah. I'd really love to work with the other doulas in the area as well, providing support for each other.
It's so important.
And yes, people can definitely call me. I'm ready.
Sweet. And can they call you through KCIW, or are you feel free to give me your number?
I can give my phone number.
Yeah, okay. I give mine all the time.
Yep. It is area code 970-389-4331. And my name is Coreen.
Yeah.
So you can leave a message. You can text. That is my cell.
Cool. And Coreen is fun, everyone. Like, if you ever need somebody to dress up with and go have the best time of your life and
definitely
love and light to your environment, like, we would actually do that for some of our end-of-life clients.
Oh, in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And they just love it. Like, they're, hate being turned over and flipped around and their sheets turned, and they just can't stand it when the hospice. I mean, we love hospice because they do the hard work.
They do hard work.
But then, you call the doula and she comes in the craziest outfits with their girlfriend and her other friend, and then they have a pizza party for the family, and they remember to live. Because when you're surrounded by death, it's like the best teacher of what we're not doing. Like, what are things in the world that have we not done yet? Like, what are we forgetting to do?
Yes, living during dying.
Yeah.
Is a forgotten thing.
Big time. I love it.
Yeah, definitely try to enjoy those last moments that we have and create memories.
Mm-hmm. I like one of my favorites. She wanted to be dressed up. We dressed her up every day in all of her best outfits that she never even worn before because she bought them. She's like, I'm going to wear these, and she's like not with us anymore, but she wanted that to happen. And so we made it happen. She wanted to go out dancing to the Bee Gees. So as they zipped her up in her sack to be gurneyed out after she was announced dead, like, we turned up the Bee Gees as loud as we could in her house speakers and just let her go out dancing to the Bee Gees.
She loved it.
Every second.
And her family can remember that forever.
Oh, I mean, the biggest smiles. And that's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
Making those quality moments.
I love it.
Yeah, well, thank you, Coreen. You are loved, and we appreciate you.